Around the time I fell in love with rap and hip hop is around the time I fell in love with filmmaking and short films as well. I must say, these days I never see your face, nah, even when you're at home all 24. My mom was telling me to like, yo, chill out, like you're overdoing it. How willing are you to get in the weeds and like be involved in everything and do everything? For full transparency, I would say at this stage of my independent artist journey, I'm very much in the early stage startup vibe where I'm in the red at this point, right? You know, it's one level when someone enjoys your music and it's another level when someone says, this is like fundamentally changing my life. Hi, my name is RMS. I'm a rapper, producer, and filmmaker, and you're watching PopShift. I first fell in love with music at a pretty young age. I was making songs on the piano with my brother. That transpired into falling in love with like movie soundtracks. So I started making instrumentals on like, you know, cracked versions of Ableton, trying to compose things like Hans Zimmer and inspired by that kind of type of music. And then later in like high school, fell in love with rap, hip hop, and realized like, oh, this is a whole different type of creativity. And from there, I was like, okay, let me merge these backgrounds and loves of like cinematic production with like lyricism and rap and make some actual music. Around the time I fell in love with rap and hip hop is around the time I fell in love with filmmaking and short films as well. So for example, I made a short film for a music video of mine called Dance With My Demons back in like 2018 or something. That was like the first time I really put out a short film that paired with the music. These days, little by little, I have been injecting more of that skill set back into the music, even on short form and things like that, with the hope that when I do put out a full-length project, hopefully in the coming months or next year, I can pair it with some really great cinematic visuals that help tell that story. Growing up, it was very like academic driven, so I was definitely deep into like making sure I'm a good student, getting into college, doing well in college and doing all these things, getting a job after college. Went through all those steps, and eventually after 3 years of working, I was like, okay, I have some money saved up. I've always known that the music stuff is gonna be my primary thing. Let me transition into this full time. Let me just lock in and try to accelerate this and elevate this as much as possible. For my parents specifically, I gave them many months in advance notice. And I was like trying to warm them up to this idea, explained it to them over a sequence of conversations. And again, to their credit, they were like, hey, we don't know much about this world, but we trust you. We trust that your head is in the right place. I think they saw how much time I spend on music and how much time I spend on building it as a career and as a business and all these things. To the point where even like the last song I put out, Saturday Slide, is literally about that, about like working so much trying to do both the jobs that my mom was telling me to like, yo, chill out, like you're overdoing it, you know what I mean? Because you're staying up all night working and then getting up early and doing the other job and stuff like that. The first time I broke the news to them, I think was a little bit more from like a defiant stance of like, this is what I'm doing. I don't care, I'm doing it. And you know, that's it. And then later on, I was like, actually, it's important for me to have their blessing on it, you know? Especially just because it's such a privilege to even be in a position where I can like go back home and I can, you know, share this music with them and have them appreciate it to the extent they do. I think it's so important to be rooted in what you enjoy and what you like and your confidence in that. So even though like now, okay, cool, it's like cool to see the traction on socials and cool to see, you know, these streams or whatever, like different sources of external validation, it's also super healthy that I've been, you know, rapping and writing for like 10 years at this point. So the level of confidence and like self-assuredness in the craft that I make stems from in here, you know what I mean? And it's not necessarily based in these like external things. Songs that have been resonating a lot, I would say like the most recent song, Saturday Slide, resonates, I think, because it just comes from such a personal place. And we underestimate how much like a story and a level of like open vulnerability really matters and really translates in music. I must say, these days I never see your face, nah, even when you're at home all 24. Either you be upstairs working day job or locked in downstairs trying to press record. I was hoping this weekend we spend a little time sitting by a TV screen and Forget about any doubt you've been feeling. I just don't want to see you stressing out anymore. The verse in it is written from the perspective of my mom, who is essentially encouraging me to like rediscover my inner child. I started putting out music in like 2016. And I think with each subsequent year, as I started putting out music and I started pushing the music, it got more and more serious. A great measure of growth is just to see how your own goals and your own actions have changed and elevated over time. This past summer is when I left my job, decided to commit to music full time, and I've been able to test this hypothesis of like, if I really devote all my time and energy, and given this age and mindset I have right now, which I didn't have so many years ago, in terms of like understanding how to approach this, the level of seriousness, the hypothesis was like, maybe I'll see an acceleration that I haven't seen previously. And I think it's safe to say like 8 months in to this, first year of locking in full time, that acceleration has been very evident across the board, whether that's, the community, the network, the live shows and live presence, the streams, the social engagement, but more than anything, just like fulfillment, happiness. So to see all these things kind of align in ways that, you couldn't really predict it, but you knew in theory, like it will work out as long as we keep moving. It's very rewarding. I'm very grateful for that. I want to make sure that everything that I'm doing has value, right? Like you can do a lot of things, but how much of it has real meaningful impact to the career or to the community, right? It has to be like one or the other. It's either serving yourself in some way that's positive or serving others in some way that's positive. A lot of people can get lost in just like doing things that make noise but don't actually translate. So I've been trying to streamline the workflow a little bit and really, dial it in to like, if I had to choose like 3 things that really provide like high impact for either growth or, elevating others or elevating myself in whatever way, like what would those 3 things be? And in my case, I think content for like growing community and cultivating the fan base. Obviously the music is always first in terms of the creative outlet and telling the story and the thing we're trying to be, trying to put out there. And then 3 that comes to mind is just live presence. So that's what I'm doing with the Formula guys, with like live event series and activating the community, giving other people opportunities to shine. I think those 3 things right now take up most of my time, and to see that the focus, like the streamlining of it, end up resulting in the things it has is, I think, like reaffirming of that workflow for sure. I do have management, which is, I'm very grateful for them to help out wherever they can. And ultimately, a lot of it is DIY. Like you have to be hands-on with most things at this stage of being an independent artist. And I think like that's the big separator a lot of times, is like how willing are you to get in the weeds and like be involved in everything and do everything? Because ultimately we're trying to elevate our artistry, which is always first, trying to put on for the community, which is always, important. But there's also like the business side of it. You have to be smart, make the right decisions, and understand like what is your business plan beyond just hoping for the best, right? So for full transparency, I would say at this stage of my independent artist journey, I'm very much in the early stage startup vibe, where I'm in the red at this point, right? In terms of it being profitable, the way I see it is like, you got to invest, got to put time, effort, and money in, and then hopefully what starts as red translates to green. So in terms of that, it's very much like a forecast, as opposed to things that have maybe a bunch of money right now that are super, super profitable. But in terms of the roadmap of where I'm trying to get to, as well as like what has proven to be beneficial already, shows are great for activating the community, but also like ticket sales, merch, and any kind of digital collectibles, like anything that you're able to give to your audience where they can feel like they have a piece of your journey, whether that's like a digital asset or that's a physical asset. Streaming, obviously, it's until you really scale it up, it's not going to be incredibly lucrative, but I see streaming as more of like discovery tool. I don't need no cape, they gonna pay me as a villain, dawg. Got a mirror taped to the ceiling, dawg, cause I'm the only one that be watching over me, 94 degrees, still ain't never sweating, bow. Supervillain as a whole, that song, in the journey of the EP that I'm rolling out. So the EP is called Dancing in Silence, and it's very much a journey of like losing and rediscovering your inner child. So Supervillain is the stage in that story where I feel like represents the detachment from the inner child, kind of like losing touch with it. So that's what like becoming the supervillain really represents, is becoming this like darker, more protective version of yourself. What's on your mind? When I ask, your eyes glance sideways. You say it's fine and sip the glass, or trying to say that I'm way too much, but I know not to take it to heart. I'm here with you. That is a special moment for sure. It's interesting story about that song, because that song is about the duality of reassurance, right? First verse is written from the perspective of like offering reassurance to somebody who you love, who's struggling and trying to unpack their traumas. And then the second verse is written from the perspective of me learning to accept reassurance. So it's the duality of giving and receiving. But an interesting story about that is, I think a year or so, or a couple of years after I released this song back in like 2020, a fan of mine from India actually reached out, DM'd, and he said, yo, every year on World Mental Health Day, I send this song to my friends who are struggling with thoughts of depression and self-harm, just to tell them that I'm there for them. And the song is called I'm Here With You. And that was like a great compass for me to be like, okay, there's real value in leaning into this direction of making sure every song is as vulnerable, as honest, and as focused on this lens of growth and improvement. You know, it's one level when someone enjoys your music, and it's another level when someone says, this is like fundamentally changing my life, or helping me heal and grow. So the EP that's upcoming is called Dancing in Silence. Been rolling out one song at a time. So the final song, the final piece of it that kind of glues it all together, will be dropping in the next couple of months. And that'll be a really great journey of, like I said before, rediscovering inner child. I have no ceiling to the imagination of where we can take it, but the real goal is to just build a beautiful, big community of people who share this value system of, hey, we love great music, we appreciate the storytelling and all this stuff, but really, we just care about being better every day, you know? And if I can do that, and I'm able to just make the music that I love, share with those people, share with that community, there's a joy in that. Thanks for watching. My name is RMS. You can find me on any socials at RMS_NJ. And you can find my music on Spotify under RMS. Check out the most recent drop, Saturday Slide, and look out for the rest of the EP, Dancing in Silence, coming soon. Appreciate you.